I am your host, Keith Andrew, along here with Cherene Snow, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, for our people who want to know what Uncensored is, Uncensored is my way to show people that even with learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. That you should never label yourself, and you should prove to people you can still amount to something. And all I'm making is a statement and turning myself into a perfect example. It's a half-hour conversation, 45 minutes. You can say anything you want. You can curse if you want to. And this is your time, so whatever you want to do.
Okay, cool.
So starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
Oh my goodness, I'm an actor. I've been an actor for, over 25 years. I've done film, television, radio. I have an extensive background in theater. I am a singer, a songwriter, and I'm also a poet. And I have a one-woman show that I'll be doing. I just wrote it myself. And I'll be performing my own songs on the 19th of this month here in Chicago. And I also teach. I'm a teaching artist. So I teach acting to a group of people, or I teach it privately as well.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the show you're working on?
It's a show about my life and my experiences. It won't cover the scope of all of them, just, bits and pieces, because the show is only an hour right now. So it's about my life, and then how the music that I've written is related to things that have happened in my life. And so that's what it's about.
All right. Well, like I said, this is your time to talk about anything you want, or you want to promote yourself, or to have a normal conversation. It's whatever you want to do. And
Okay.
For the most part, I like to make things interactive. So if you have any favorite outfits you like to show our viewers, or favorite or awards, or pictures, to make it more interactive, you're more than welcome to. So whatever you want to do.
No, I don't have any costumes to show you, or pictures or anything like that. No, I don't. I'm just here to answer if you have any questions. I'm here to, answer any questions that you have.
All right. Well, what can you tell us about your high school years? Were you studying, two questions in one. Mm-hmm. Were you a study nerd in college, or were you a party animal? And what can you tell us about your high school years?
No, I was not a party animal, although I did usually go to a party every weekend. It was just odd if I didn't when I was in college. I went to Illinois State University, which is in Normal, Illinois. We used to call it Abnormal, Illinois. I went to high school, South Shore High School here in Chicago, and I studied drama. So my high school years were good. I mean, I spent it acting. I didn't necessarily consider myself to be popular, but I think that a lot of people remember me because of all of the acting that I did. I mean, of course, I found this out like much later. So a lot of people remember me from that, and then, of course, anybody who's seen me on television or in film or anything like that, remember that. But my high school years were good. They were good. I got along with everybody. I did take dance in high school. I took chorus for all 4 years of my high school. Nothing spectacular. I did, like I said, acting. That was my big thing. And then I went to college right after high school. And I took a break right at my senior year, in between semesters. I took a break for about a year and a half, and then I went back and got took my last semester, and I got my degree in theater, in acting, directing sequence. And then I got out of college, and I started acting, looking for things to professionally.
Well, what got you into acting? What motivated you, and what were your passions behind it?
I did my first film when I was 13, called Cooley High, and it was filmed here in Chicago. And after I did that film, I knew acting was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I just started to do it in high school. Studied drama. Was part of a creative arts workshop in high school, and as a matter of fact, my teacher from that creative arts workshop is the one that's spearheading the one-woman show that I'm doing on the 19th. And so, doing the movie is what sparked it, and then I've just continued with it ever since. It's I love it. It's the idea of being able to express myself in ways that I may not normally, being able to be someone else, being able to share the gift that I have with other people, and to hopefully move them as well. That's amazing to me. And then also to take this gift and to teach it to kids, or to anybody for that matter. That's exciting to me.
All right. Now, what are you just like an actor on stage, or actor as in film?
Mm-hmm. On stage, in film, television. Like I said, I've done a couple of voiceovers. So I've been in all of the mediums.
All right. For an example, what TV shows or movies were you part of?
Mm-hmm. I did a show called The Drew Carey Show when I lived in LA for 9 years after Chicago. And so I did The Drew Carey Show. I did a show called Reasonable Doubts with Mark Harmon, who is now on NCIS, and Marley Maitland. I did a show called LA Doctors. When I was in New York, I did Law and Order SVU, Third Watch, The Jury. In terms of films, I've done City of Angels with Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan, The Long Walk Home with Whoopi Goldberg and Sissy Spacek. I did an ABC Movie of the Week called Out of Darkness with Diana Ross. I've been on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And then I've done a lot of theater. And I've done some more independent films.
What can you tell us about your experience on being on the War and Order?
Oh, it's great. It was great. Each time there were different stars. The first one was Jesse L. Martin and Jerry Orbach, who is now gone. They were amazing. In between scenes, we would sing songs. And then when I did the second Law and Order, it was with Anthony Anderson and Jeremy Sisto. Anthony Anderson is hysterical. They were both wonderful. I played a assistant principal in the first one with Jesse Martin and Jerry Orbach, and then in the second one I played a doctor with Anthony Anderson and Jeremy Sisto, and then I did a Law and Order SVU with Mariska Hargitay and Christopher Maloney, and I played the stepmother of a girl who was murdered within the show, and they were wonderful. They were just wonderful. I've had beautiful experiences doing all three of those shows.
All right. What about, did he ever work in retail before acting, or didn't he just jump into acting right after high school and college?
Oh my God, I've done retail, I've been a telemarketer, I've done sales, I've worked in temp offices doing office work. I've been a receptionist.
Do you have any screwed up retail stories you like to share?
Screwed up retail stories. No, I don't have any screwed up retail stories. No, I don't have any.
Well, I got a couple of funny ones if you want to hear them.
Okay, sure.
My sister used to work over at, can't remember the store, but she was a salesperson. Mm-hmm. And she used to have to go into fitting rooms to clean up.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of discussing people that, like I said, it's uncensored. He can curse if you want to. Yeah. A lot of fucked up people saying, "Oh, why? I really have to use the bathroom. Why walk when I can? I am in the fitting room." So they used to piss in the corner, take a dump on the seats, and hide the clothes in it. It's.
Oh my God, that's awful. That's awful. Ugh.
Now, the other subject I was going to ask you is, when a lot of people make fun of Disney, and do you think Aladdin had an adult edge to it, or do you think it was just basically for kids?
You know, it's been so long since I've seen Aladdin that I wouldn't be able to answer that question for you properly.
Now, the reason, if you go and watch it, there's a scene of Jasmine where she's walking around and you can see her bikini. So I'm just like, is this supposed to be a kid's movie, or is this adult edge to it?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about Disney. I've not worked with Disney before. Well, I worked with Disney once. I won't say that once. I did a live industrial for Disney long time ago. I was living in L.A. So that's about as much as I know about Disney.
All right, what about any cartoons you grew up watching, but it was racist, but at the same time it was funny, so you can't take it too seriously? But any cartoons that you can think of are like, I can't believe they got away with that shit, but at the same time it was funny?
Definitely not racist.
Like for
instance, I mean, because I used to watch things like, well, there's a show that's not even on anymore, a show called Clutch Cargo. I used to watch Johnny Quest, the original Johnny Quest. You know, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Oh God, the Jetsons.
The classics.
Yeah, the classics. So they weren't like that. It was just straight up, you know. They were cartoons. You know, Casper, the Friendly Ghost. Oh my goodness. Underdog. Dudley Do Right. You know, those are the ones I watched. So they weren't racist. I mean, I haven't seen. I mean, I still watch Rocky and Bullwinkle because it's still on, and the Jetsons. But none of those were racist or anything. Or there was nothing in it that I couldn't believe that they got away with. You know, Natasha and Boris were hilarious. You know, I mean, the Flintstones, you know. But no, it was all good.
Hey, what about the whole cartoon? Well, before we get to the cartoon conspiracy, that's the next one we're going to talk about. But what about? It's funny, but it isn't really funny. It's funny because people still bring it up. But what about? There's two of them. The first one is in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, how they made the Black Ranger black and they made the Asian Ranger yellow. And I said this in my last interview, it didn't matter if the kid was black. It didn't matter if the girl was yellow. Mm-hmm. it all depends on character and the personality of the person that made it. But a lot of people still joke about it, and they joke around with the actors. How come they made you the Black Rangers? Because you're black? I don't know. It's...
because I have no idea. Just listening to you talk about it, I didn't think of it as racist. I don't watch cartoons today like I did back then because they're not they're not the way they were back then.
Right.
So I don't really watch them I'll see, the Jetsons or Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I don't even watch those on a regular basis. So, The Simpsons is truly not the Simpsons.
Family Guy?
No. The two guys, what was their show?
The Cleveland Show?
Who?
The Cleveland Show?
No, Cook. They had Cook on there. Isaac Hayes used to have a character on there.
I have no idea.
Okay, I can't think. It's the two guys. Matt. They have a show on Broadway, but I don't. The shows today and the the cartoons today are a lot different than they were back then. Back then, it was about being a kid. It's not like that now.
No, I give you a perfect example, and going on to our next subject about cartoon conspiracies. You look at cartoons like, what was it? Pokemon. Pokemon was a big thing in there in the late 90s, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all over the news saying it encouraged animal violence and animal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? Power Rangers, how it was too violent, but at the same time it was catered to kids.
Mm-hmm.
He-Man, there was some gay humor in He-Man, but it was still funny. What was it, Heckle and Jekyll? And those were great cartoons because it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have today? You have SpongeBob, and there is gay humor in SpongeBob if you look for it.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you have? You have, I don't know, basically cartoons today are just terrible. Like, what's the other popular one? Looney Tunes?
Okay.
For a perfect example, you're seeing Speedy Gonzales. Was a stereotype?
No. I know what you're talking about, but I've not watched it.
Well, there's Speedy Gonzales, so it's supposed to be making fun of Mexicans. But in Mexico, they loved Speedy Gonzales. He was like an icon. I don't know, people like to hear themselves talk and ruin things for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it just lets you know what's going on in the world today. Racism is always going to exist. It just is. It always has, it always will. But you have to be able to see the good in things. Not everything is about race. Not everything is about making fun of, certain classes of people, people's sexual orientation. It's there, it exists, it's going to happen. But on the other side of that is, there are other beautiful things going on. It just depends on what you want to give your concentration to.
That's true. And now I'm going to ask you about your school history, and we're going to do like a comparisons. Did he go to the suburbs, or did he go to the actual city schools?
Oh, no, I went to city school.
Now, what do you say, you got everything out of the education that you wanted, or do you think you could have gotten more out of it?
School was different back then than it is now. I believe that we learned more. I believe that learning was easier than it is now. I think they make things so complicated, and I think that now there's so many things being left out, and then so much more work being heaped on students that you don't have a chance to be a child because you're so busy being a student. And so I think I got a lot more out of my learning than kids do today.
Well, now let's turn that around, and I think like you asked me the same question. I went to the suburbs, and basically the high school I went to was a rich, snobby country club feel to it. When I used to watch The Breakfast Club, or Empire Records, or Back to the Future, I always said that's the type of high school I wanted to go to, because it was, real. But the one I went to was basically, if you had money, you can do whatever you want. You paid the teachers off, and they always catered to the jocks and bimbos, or whatever the case was. Basically, to sum up my 4 years in high school was basically, here's a newspaper, go sit in a corner and read it. And when I went to class, I was basically pushed along, and it's like, oh, you're not going to learn anything, you're not going to amount to anything, and go sit in the back and go make use of your own time. My dad used to work in the city. He worked over at the city school, and here's the difference. He worked with kids off the streets, a lot of African Americans and Asians and everything. It was a mix. And they got a good education. Now, you compare that to where I went to, and I didn't get jack shit. I always said, and I always say to people, I went to my dad's school. It's like, why? You're saying that because, the school is full of blacks, or it's full of Asians. So, no, that's not the point. The point is you appreciate things more, because it gives you a different outlook on life. When you go into a rich, snobby school, when we have a lot of backward-ass people, all they can see is dollar signs. So it's kind of like, I went to your school because I knew I probably learned something, but yeah, you shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's one.
Yeah. They just don't teach kids the way they used to. Now it's all about tests and exams. It's about being at a certain level. The school itself being at a certain level within their district, within the Board of Education. So kids are not getting a lot of learning. It's all about memorization, which is sad.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, what about, and like I said, this is your time, so you have any subjects you want to talk about, anything that you're passionate about, you like to tell our listeners?
I'm passionate about children. I love children. I love teaching them, because I believe that I teach them in a positive way, and I give them not only skills and techniques in terms of acting, but also in terms of life experience. So they don't just walk away with acting skills. They walk away with, being able to look a person in the eye when you talk to them, learning to have good posture, learning to be a team player whenever that's necessary, learning or having them find out what they have in themselves that they didn't know was there, and being able to express that, and being able to express their feelings, express their creativity. So I teach them all of those things. It's not just about acting. So I'm passionate about that. I love, writing songs, and I love, writing poetry. So those are things that I'm passionate about. Yeah.
All right. Well, trying to think of a good subject to ask you. With everything going on in the media, what's your opinion about it?
You know, I don't look at the news. Excuse me. I don't look at the news. I usually get my 10 minutes or whatever it is I need to know once I get on the internet, because it's going to be on there. You just can't escape it. But I don't watch the news because it's very fear-based, and they do it to get you to watch it over and over. You know, it's a mind controlling mechanism, and so I don't watch the news. So I mean, I'm current with what's going on in terms of you know Ebola and politics and things like that. I know what's going on. I just don't sit and give it my attention, and I don't watch the news because it's fear-based and it's depressing. They hide all the good stuff in the back.
I give you a perfect example. A lot of people are saying I should get sponsors, I should try to be in the media. And the media basically turned me down because they weren't interested, and they rather talk about rapes and killings and murders and the gangbanging. It's like, really? You want to talk about this shit? Then a great thing that I'm doing? It's ridiculous. And we're wrapping up on our last subject. Is I want to come up with a new idea. When I approached you about my talk show, and for our listeners out there, for to get a little more detail about my talk show, what did you think of my talk show when I first approached you about it?
I think it's a wonderful idea. I mean, I think that the internet is a great place to do so many things. To get your talent out there, to get your voice out there, to hear what other people have to say. I mean, it's a wonderful idea that you're able to still do something that you may not necessarily be able to do on television, or that you may not necessarily be able to do on film. So you're proactive in making your dream come true, which is having your own talk show on the internet. That's a beautiful thing. I say keep going with it. It's going to take you into more places. The more you do it, the sharper you get at it. And you never know who you'll come across in terms of who you're interviewing, who that contact may know. So I think it's a beautiful thing what you're doing, and I thought it when I first read your description.
No, I appreciate it, and a lot of things, our listeners out there, a lot of people tell me I should have been doing this a lot sooner, and a lot of people say I'm doing a great thing, but at the same time, those people say you're doing just a great thing. I'm not really interested in being a guest on your talk show. It's great that you're doing this, but I really don't want to be bothered with it. But what do you have to say about people like that?
You get the people you're supposed to get, and you're guarded against the people you're not supposed to get. So those people who say no, those are not the people you're supposed to be interviewing. You're not supposed to have that energy. The people that you get are the people that you're supposed to have for your own good.
No, I agree with you, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans or listeners, or any funny stories you like to share?
Funny story. No, I don't have any funny stories. I just, for anybody who has a dream, whatever that dream is, whether you want to be a street sweeper, an architect, an artist, whatever you want to be, you doing what you're doing. Hold on to the dream. Keep pursuing it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. I had people tell me that I couldn't sing. So I had a friend suggest I take voice lessons. I took voice lessons. Now I sing. I write music, which I didn't know that I could do. Lyrics, poetry, So whatever your dream is, follow that dream, follow that bliss. No matter what anybody else says.